This story was submitted by Scooter. I grew up in a small town, but not too small, about 5,000 people. I lived on the smaller side of town, and I was maybe 10 at the time this happened. I'm almost 30 now. I was walking home from a friend's place at around 9 p.m. with my brother. Being winter, it was already dark out. Our town had never had good streetlights, so there were a lot of dark spots on the street, but we didn't have to walk too far, only a few blocks. About halfway home, we heard a car coming from behind. As our side of town was pretty barren, it wasn't too common. The car slowed down and stopped under a dead streetlight. We couldn't really make out the car or see who it was, but my brother said that we should hurry home. The car followed us a bit more down the street, staying in the dark. My brother was worried and said, "We should race home. I bet I can beat you." Not thinking much of it at the time, I said, "Sure," and we ran the rest of the way. As we got closer to our house, my brother said that we should take our shortcut. Our neighbor had a construction business, so he had a large lot with a lot of different equipment on it. He also didn't mind us walking through the yard, as it was a faster way to get home. When we went into his yard, we heard the car drive past us. When we got home, my brother told me why he wanted to run all of a sudden. He said that he was getting a creepy vibe from the car and wanted to get home really fast. He also said that he wanted to take the shortcut so that the car wouldn't know where we lived, and he said we shouldn't tell our parents as they may get scared and not let us out past dark anymore, and I agreed. The next day we went over to our friends again and started playing Super Nintendo. At the same time that we always leave, we left again. On our walk home, my brother was looking around a lot, and I assumed he was looking for that car again. Again, about halfway back, we heard a car coming. My brother grabbed my hand and said, "If I say run, you run, okay? Take the shortcut too." The car again followed us for a short while and stayed in the dark. We started to run, again taking the shortcut to get home, and again not telling our parents. As it was a Friday night, we were allowed to stay up and watch TV in our room. Our window overlooked our neighbor's lot, so we could see the lot pretty well. He never lit it up too well, however, as it was just backhoes and other equipment. At around 10 p.m. we heard something outside. We peeked out the window and we saw someone moving around in the lot. My brother quickly turned off our light and told me to get into bed. My heart was racing in my chest, but after about 10 minutes, the figure was gone, but I still didn't sleep much that night. The next day my brother asked me if I wanted to go over and play games again at our friends'. At first I was scared, but he assured me that nothing would happen, so I agreed. After playing at our friends' for a while, we left a bit early this time, just in case. It was dark outside when we left, and we decided to take a different route home this time. This route takes a little longer, but we wanted to make sure that the car wasn't following us again. Once we made the turn for the other route, again we heard a car coming. It stayed back a bit, but it was clearly slowly following us. We started to run, and the car sped up. We ran as far as we could, but the car caught up in no time. Then, it sped past us and down the road. We slowed down and watched the car go out of our sight. My heart was again racing and I was shaking, so my brother had me sit down to relax a bit. We walked the rest of the way back home, and didn't see or hear a car the rest of the way home. Again, it being the weekend, we were up late. Around 10 p.m. again, we heard something moving in the lot next to us. We peeked out the window and saw a figure lurking around the lot next to us. Again, we turned off the lights and got into bed. I was so scared that night. I closed my eyes tight and I hid under the covers, but nothing happened. I guess somehow we fell asleep, because later that night we were woken up to red and blue lights outside. I took a peek outside and saw a few cop cars in the lot next to us. They were taking a man in cuffs to the car. This sent chills down my spine, but also a wave of relief. A few minutes later, there was a knock at the door. It was a police officer. He was asking if we were okay, and my parents asked him what was going on. They told us that the man had broken into our neighbor's house looking for 2 kids. The neighbor was able to fight the man off and call the police. It turns out the man had been a neighbor of our friend and had been watching us for a few days. I guess when they went to his house, they found a room with plastic sheets on the wall and several knives. The cops believe he was going to kidnap us and kill us. It was a good thing that we took the shortcut each time we walked home. He never knew where our real house was. This story was submitted by Distressed Man. Recently I came out gay to a friend, which in hindsight was an awful idea. I knew he was racist, homophobic scum. After I told him, he would constantly shove me in the hallway screaming insults. It truly disgusted me. Could humans really be this rude? I got my answer soon enough, when he started harassing me outside of school, and coming to my house in the middle of the night with his other redneck friends and ding-dong ditching me. I live on a 5-acre property, and I use scrap metal to create things that I sell to people. Recently, all of my shit was stolen. Each goddamn creation that took over 10 hours to create. Some were even crosses that I was selling to my Christian friends. The only clue as to who did it was the word faggot written on the wall. I knew who it was. The damned kid at my high school. I was beyond pissed. I could feel the flames engulf my body, and I felt sick to my stomach. I couldn't call the police because the kid was class president and a principal list student, and I'm what you call a B- student. I passed class, but I put no effort into anything. I was really hoping it would just pass after they had their fun, but I was very wrong. I can't sleep well due to insomnia, which in hindsight probably saved my life. It was 3:30 a.m. and I was blasting Nirvana from my earbuds like usual when I heard an irregular noise. I take out one earbud and I hear footsteps coming from outside of my window. I'm a very safety-conscious person. Paranoia. Because of that awful gene, I always carry a lethal weapon on me. I pull out 3 throwing knives that I had perfected throwing with, and as soon as I pulled out the slender blades, I heard glass shatter. It came from the garage door. I called out to my dad to grab his gun. He probably couldn't hear the footsteps coming from outside, but he would likely hear my scream. My dad didn't even say a word to me, but I heard him quickly take off towards the garage. He probably heard the glass too. A second later I hear my dad yell, "What the fuck are you doing here?" I watched my dad through the window shooting rounds into the air, and then I see my old friend and a ton of his hick buddies run over and load up on quads and into a minivan and speed off. Let's just say after this incident, he finally stopped calling me names and he left me alone. Now, we could have called the police, but they're as useless as dirt around here, and some are just as homophobic. Everyone takes things personally. The scariest part about this is when my dad was shooting up into the air, I saw several men run out of the forest too, all armed with melee weapons and tools. I think I would have been tortured by a bunch of hicks if it hadn't been for my father's bravery. If you enjoyed this video, you know what to do. If you would like a chance to have your story featured in an upcoming video, make sure you check out the description for information on how to submit your stories. I would also like to let you know if you want to go old school and send me something snail mail, I'll have an address that you can mail your stories into as well. I've also had a few people asking where they could send some art, so you could send any art that you wanted to send there as well. I hope you all had a great weekend, and I'll catch you in the next video. And just remember, it's always scarier if it's true.